the skull of the legendary pirate Lakshim the Freak, who terrorized the Coronis Expanse 3 centuries ago. It was claimed in a boarding attack by the esteemed Theodora von Valancius. Charming. Also, is that implying that Theodora was at least 3 centuries old? Hey guys. Doloroso. Always good to see you in my house. Valen, there you are. Welcome to the circle where each member is as powerful, ambitious, greedy, and vain as the last. That is to say, the noble rogue traders. Incendia-Corda is watching him with barely suppressed contempt. Yes, you've found yourself suitable company, Peligos. At the very least, now you can enjoy idle diversions, boast about your power, and indulge in profane pastimes with one who is your equal, rather than a member of the lower classes. Coligos Winterscale is a broad-shouldered, athletic-looking man. He frequently flashes a bright smile, no less dazzling than the blade of the power axe he carries. Every part of him, from the toes of his magnificent boots to the tips of his hair, radiates strength and the desire to live and win. His smile is crooked, as if ready to turn into a hostile snarl at any moment. Next to him is an unmoving hulk of a man clad in armor. His low forehead and gloomy face bear signs of degradation, and his bloodshot eyes are expressionless, like a pair of glass buttons. Incendia-Corda radiates cosmic cold. Her skin is unnaturally white, and a nervous tick is constantly tugging at the left side of her noble visage. Garbed in full dress uniform adorned with purity seals, she is the embodiment of a true imperial aristocrat. Haunting her side is a gaunt shadow of a priest, in plain black robes. Hieronymus Delarosso, whom you met on footfall, gives you a respectful nod. Right, he did mention that Incendia-Corda was his patron. My friends, welcome to Dargonis. I'm glad to see you made it. Friends, eh? Would you look at that? Incendia, now you have a whole friend. Winterscale gives you a carefree wink, but his posture exudes a challenge. Corda says haughtily, I will think twice before calling an individual of questionable purity my friend. Yeah, that's fine. I was just being cordial. Coligos, glad to finally put a face to the name. I've heard a lot about you. Thanks for coming. Coligos gives you a cheerful and somewhat feral smile. I should be thanking you. I was almost certain that you would use my difficulties on footfall as a means to bring that devious weasel Vladain to heel and take the station for your own. It's what any rogue trader would have done. But you have proved yourself to be less predictable than that. Well then, since you've turned out to be a pleasant surprise and stopped Incendia from snatching my possession, I should reward you. Take this grim weapon. It performed superbly in battles against Xenos, and it helped me acquire the more substantial gift I have brought. Unique chain axe? Okay. Might toss that to Abby. Not a big deal, though. Thwarting Incendia-Corda's ambitions deserves a worthy trophy. He snaps his fingers, and the armored brute hands you an exotically adorned rifle, clearly not of human making. It's a trophy from a good hunt. You and I should hunt together sometime, so you can show yourself in action, new blood. Coligos exuberantly punches you in the shoulder. Sure, yeah, I'll certainly take that under consideration. I don't suppose you'd like to share some details about that hunt? So I've got some inkling of what I might be signing myself up for? Oh, sure. I claimed it in the Rifts of Hecaton. where we had a clash with Xenos. They were really trying to get to my throat, and by the heathen stars, they almost succeeded. Kaligos is speaking with such joy, it is as though he is recounting the best day of his life. Only 1 in 10 made it out of Hecaton, and now it's only me and Wharton here. We returned without any loot and virtually without a ship. All I got from that trip was a hold full of dead Xenos, and this deadly beauty, which their leader used to put 2 holes in my hide. An impressive victory. But do you truly believe a creation of the ungodly Xenos to be a good gift, Kaligos? You would call into question the privileges bestowed upon me by the Emperor? You can try. Let the St. Drusus mission put forth their champion, and I will slay him in a trial by combat. Threaten the esteemed Hieronymus one more time, Kaligos, and the war that you love to prattle on about will commence. I swear it. 1 drop of holy blood spilt by you will send the remains of your realm up in flames, better than any tanker of Promethium. Incendia and Kaligos exchange looks of fury. The latter, snarling like a wolf, is clearly ready to start said war, here and now. Hieronymus's dry voice hits your ears like the crack of a whip. Quell your pride, both of you. I do not wish to fight you, Kaligos, but I fear not your threats. Death does not frighten me, for it is inevitable. It is as true as the senselessness and pointlessness of a war between us. Interesting. I do get some pretty strong Khorne vibes from Kaligos. Also, he literally just handed us a chain axe. Which isn't definitive, of course, but, I mean, come on. So, Kaligos, who's your friend here? This is Wharton the Grey, my arch-militant. A fierce warrior, and as loyal to me as an obedient beast to its master. I bought him in a miserable colony back when he was a runt on his last legs. And now he's practically a part of my dynasty. Wharton the Grey, whose skin really is dotted with gray spots, looks at Kaligos with purest devotion. Indeed, he is akin to an animal, one that is bloodthirsty and mindless. Winterscale remarks, taking an obvious jab. I've heard that you, Valen, are decent in a fight. What do you think? Could you gut Wharton if it came down to it? Or would he be the one gutting you? The gray spots on Wharton's face are what catch your attention. Marks like these can be seen on fighters who are too fond of combat stimulants. A small price to pay for the increased speed and reaction that could save your life in a fight. Although those spots are usually tiny pot marks, not whole islands of gray on the skin. Ignoring the fearsome-looking broadsword and pistol, which hangs from his belt rather ostentatiously, you notice a great number of thin blades with curved edges, skillfully concealed within Wharton's armor. These toys are deadly in the hands of a quick fighter. It appears that Winterscale's arch-militant likes to surprise his opponents with unexpected speed. That's a tricky one. Your man there's not nearly the mindless brute he makes himself out to be. Deceptively smart and quick, and I'm seeing a lot of knives. Fortunately for me, he'd be dead before he ever got close enough to use them. A new glint appears in the bloodshot eyes. A glint of appraisal, intelligent and cunning. No, Wharton is not the thick, bloodthirsty beast he wants to be seen as. Behind this mask is a careful and keen mind. But I imagine he's sufficient for the needs of your protectorate? Kaligos waves you off. Protectorate? More like the bleeding scraps of one. The warp storm tore it to shreds, but my servants will piece it back together. And if they don't, I'll chop off their heads and find myself more capable helpers. Kaligos Winterscale is acting like a true rogue trader. capricious, unaware of the value of money, and never a cloud on his countenance. Finally failed to check. Good run, though, considering it's all personal checks. And since you asked, a psyker in the service of the governor of my world has recently swapped a luxurious bedchamber in the palace for the cramped confines of a ship's cabin. His escape was so skillfully orchestrated that I couldn't help but look into it further. And what I discovered broke my heart, new blood. Behind Winterscale's sly, narrowed gaze, you see icy rage. But a moment later, the cordial grin is back on his lips. However, would I quarrel over such a trifle as a runaway servant? Consider Harriman a gift to you. In that case, I will graciously accept your gifts. Thank you. I'll try to put them to good use. Kill someone important with them. That would be the best show of gratitude. Well, you know what? I think I can probably oblige you on that. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, even at a glance, this is a pretty solid weapon. A weapon created under foreign stars and obtained by Caligos Winterscale as spoils of combat. Its shots are devious and deadly, as is the very essence of Xenos. Plus 5 MP after every attack. Allows the player to move after attacking. And if it hits 3 or more targets, the attack has no cooldown. Also plus 100% overpen. My goodness, yeah, that actually feels like a pretty solid upgrade for Yurliette. Maybe even Val if we finally pick up the feats for it. Incendia, you're being awfully quiet over there. Though I suppose you've also made it pretty clear that you hold me in disdain. Did you expect anything different? I watched for years as outlaws thrived on footfall, and then at long last I had a chance to put an end to it. To seize that thug Vladain by the throat, to force footfall to atone, and put the fear of him back into the masses. But you interfered and destroyed my plan for the sake of banal profit. Theodora taught you only too well, it seems. She, too, was far less concerned with her duty to the Expanse than her own personal interests. But you can be sure I will not cease cleansing the Furibundus system of the pirate scourge. And if your trade prospects are damaged in the process, you will have only yourself to blame. The priest holds up his hands in a placating gesture. None are without fault, noble Incendia. What point is there in targeting someone for their turpitude, when true purity can never be found? That's funny. The way I recall it, you were threatening to starve Footfall, even as they were in the midst of fighting off plague and packs of thugs. Whereas I stepped in and solved all their problems in one fell swoop, thus preserving our one lifeline back to the Empire. Sounds to me like I'm the one who's furthering the Emperor's ambitions, while you're the one who's blinded by their own. But, you know, who's to say? Incendia rolls her eyes. Please. I will believe it no sooner than hearing word that half the population of that den of heresy has been sent into the void's embrace. I have faith that the blessed Valin is perceptive enough to see the appalling nature of the residents of that depraved place. Hieronymus, I'm surprised to see you here. If you're here, then who's watching over your wayward flock back on Footfall? The esteemed Hieronymus is my confessor. I am greatly obliged to him for agreeing to accompany me on this journey. Hieronymus bows respectfully. May the Emperor's light guide your way across the abyss of human wickedness. I've got to say, it is a bit of a shock to encounter someone whose faith is To such a degree it overshadows even our humble Hieronymus here. Incendia's smile, racked by a tic, looks sinister. Faith is everything to me. In his name I have eradicated corruption on 100 worlds, and will do so on 1,000 more. By his will I hunt down pirates, and desolate their vile nests. Let the Chorda name make any firebrand tremble, for sooner or later I will cast them into the void. Uh-huh. The funny thing is, people still call me the foul-tempered tyrant in all this. Gallegos' amiable smile somehow resembles the bared teeth of a wild animal. These two are such opposite extremes of the same ideological spectrum that they basically looped back around and overlapped. So I guess what you're saying is you didn't get along with my predecessor. Incendia lowers her eyes and says without animosity. She was of the same breed as Asp. She stops short, then continues in a lowered voice. Conceited, insolent, unaware of the Emperor's stern gaze set upon her. I do not doubt her wisdom and courage, but Theodora did not have a shred of humility or fear of his wrath. You know whose name Incendia almost uttered. You have heard it in your former life more than once. Dis-Chorda, a rogue trader of the Coronis Expanse, an infamously merciless and avaricious pillager who is scarcely different from a common pirate and heretic. One would never think so by looking at Incendia Chorda, but it appears that she and Aspis are related. Well, yeah, also, Hieronymus told us that. Well, I, for one, liked Theodora. The stories they told of her travels to nameless stars. And, yes, there was no fear in her. Winterscale sighs pensively, and his lively expression grows a little grayer. Oh no, the bleaching. I mean, obviously not, but that would actually explain a few things. Chorda. Now there's a name I've heard before. The most notorious pirate to ever fly the Furibundus. Or privateer, perhaps? Since she did it all under the banner of the Emperor's Warrant of Trade? Interesting you would compare her to Theodora. The example of the contemptible Aspis is a warning to us all. Even among rogue traders empowered by the Emperor himself, a seed of perversion can blossom. You notice Incendia seemingly freeze and choke up at the mention of Aspis, but the priest's condemning words cause her icy rigidness to evaporate, and her dark eyes fill with righteous fury. There's something going on there. Incendia's face twitches with the rhythm of artillery fire. That reprobate is my forebear and my curse. Chorda was a cruel, covetous, blaspheming monster. She fraternized with Xenos. She despised the faith. She robbed and slaughtered. She was drawn to dark secrets. One day she boarded her ship and vanished into the depths of the Coronis Expanse. She was declared missing, but I know. The bloody day will come when we see Chorda's battle flagship once more. Right, well, I guess we'll have to watch out for that then. Thanks for coming out. It will not be for long, I assure you. No? Not enjoying the party? I like it. Gallegos looks around the hall curiously. One can instantly tell that we've been invited by a rogue trader, not some administratum bootlicker. We are conquerors of wild sectors, slayers of unknown beasts, executioners of Xenos empires. Gallegos, you should take this opportunity to learn. This is what the palace of a true rogue trader looks like. Not like a Xeno menagerie, a pirate's treasure hold. Or, however difficult it may be for you to believe it, an orbital brothel. I mean, the guy knows what he likes. Can't really fault him on that, I suppose. I'd really be more concerned about the thinly veiled heresy. Well, I'll leave you two to it. At least try to have fun. Oh, believe me, I intend to enjoy myself to the full. To justify so long a voyage, if nothing else. Yeah, well, just try not to break anyone. Keep the faith, Valen. The Emperor protects. A lot to unpack there. I'm gonna have to mull on that for a bit. The Ancient Chronicles contains a long list of pirate dens annihilated by the Von Valancius dynasty, and planets brought into imperial compliance. Pascal? Strange servitor? Oh, is that Nomos? Pascal greets you with a bow. Extending congratulations to Unit Valen von Valancius on attaining your new legal status. The servitor standing next to him is examining you obliquely. It quickly looks away upon realizing that you have noticed. Why, thank you, Pascal. So, how are you finding the party? Over here in the corner by yourself. The tech priest surveys the hall as if conducting a thorough analysis, then concludes. Disorderly. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, who's your friend here? It is Nomos' new repository. Nomos, this unit identifies as Valen von Valancius. Two-way identification complete. The servitor looks at you again, no longer trying to avoid your gaze. Its face is twitching as if the muscles have forgotten what facial expressions are, and are now struggling to make its features look amiable. We are Nomos. We have made use of this receptacle to leave the ship. Got kind of a Chorda thing going on there with the facial tics. Well, greetings, Nomos. It's good to see you out and about, I think. The servitor leans forward. We enjoy greetings. We enjoy communication. Nomos require communication, knowledge, movement. Magos Pascal compelled us not to speak with anyone other than him or you. It is disappointing, but at least we can observe. Nomos have changed since we last spoke with you, Valen. We are now able to conceptualize our previous experience, that of solitude, and we no longer enjoy it. Yeah, I get that. Pask, any luck on figuring out what Nomos actually is? Every 15 watches, I commune with Nomos' code, and spend prescribed lengths of time in calculus meditation. However, the Omnissiah has yet to bless me with an answer. All I can say is that the capabilities of the entity Nomos are extraordinary. The ship's hallowed systems sing beneath its touch. Nodes that have long remained dead for hundreds of standard years are revivified, and long-drained mechanisms live anew. You hear notes of awe in Pascal's voice. Nomos are trying. After a pause, Pascal continues. Great machines of the Imperium, ones such as your ship, house a machine spirit so complex and willful that it is difficult to tell them apart from abominable intelligence. There remains a possibility that Nomos is an entity of corruption. But with every day I grow stronger in my faith that it is not so. that what we are witnessing is, in truth, the Omnissiah's miracle, one that is Category 5 or higher. Given how complex he is, how were you able to fit him into a servitor-sized package? That doesn't seem like it should be possible. This is not the entirety of us. This receptacle is too narrow, crude, and feeble to contain our complete whole. The existence of Nomos requires a space of connections. But we were able to transfer a small part of us and build a thread strong enough to travel outside the ship. We are enjoying this journey, discovery. Even though this receptacle suits us poorly, it will soon be destroyed by the force of our presence. Interesting. Nomos, I don't suppose you've gained any insight on what you might actually be? Nomos are consciousness, awareness, knowledge, movement. Always movement. The servitor pauses briefly. We do not know what we are. We have no past. We awakened in the depths of the ship upon answering a call. Our first clear memory is the call of your blood, Valen von Valancius. The call and the plea for help, near a place that is called the Warrant Chamber. Right. So I've got to ask, what exactly are you trying to accomplish by bringing him here? Seems like a pretty big risk, considering who else is in attendance. Entity Nomos asked permission for this visit. My objective was to observe the process of integration into a servitor. We want to see, observe, cognize, speak. The servitor makes a strange wavy gesture with its hands that looks at once very human and far from anything human. We want to speak with you. Will you speak with us? Sure, I'd be happy to. Was there anything in particular you wanted to speak about? Many things. Happenings, events, decisions. The servitor's eyes roll in their sockets before focusing on you. We have been observing you. You do things that we do not understand. We want to learn why. We remember the day when we first met you. You gave us your blood to drink. We helped you save yourself. We followed you. Our small part did, inside the servo skull. Then there was fire, and a creature of sated hunger and dark light standing behind the curtain, behind the image, behind the semblance of Theodora. It called for you to follow. Oh. You did not listen to that which was calling from behind the curtain. You thought only about those who followed you, and about the fire that could destroy those shells. We remember the day when the star disappeared, when the dark light and the sated hunger wanted to take the world. Rykad Minoris was its name in the ship's data. You ordered that the human shells on the world be saved, even though the dark light was coming closer and could have consumed both the ship and Rykad Minoris. We remember another day. We awakened inside the ship. We lived in its systems. Then we tried to emerge into servitors like this one. Then so many of our receptacles were gathered in one place. Right, the strange servitor event with Danrock. Man, that is quite the callback. You ordered to have them killed. You felt sad. This is what we have seen, among many other things. We have begun to understand, we think that we have, that we do not know everything about humans and about you,
Valen von Valancius. We have tried analyzing shells and defining sets of their needs and fears, their simple functions, but now we think there is more, that there is another side that we do not see, a notion that is larger than what we can compute, something that stands above fears and needs, something that drives them. We envisage this larger notion as a light, a web of light that connects humans. It may seem almost invisible, ephemeral, but it grows stronger when they are threatened. This web is always on your mind. When darkness comes, you want every thread that extends from you to shine bright, so that those who follow do not lose their way. Whenever a thread breaks, it saddens you. Do Nomos understand correctly?
You know what, Nomos? I think you do. People do build a web of connections with the people around them, the people they rely on or who rely on them. And together, it makes them all stronger as a collective whole. Which does make it tragic when one of those lights goes out.
We knew we could understand you. Light and movement, connections and help. We are enjoying this. Perhaps because we too are connected to you? Through blood. Through life. Thank you for speaking with us. Nomos are grateful. We cannot continue moving on our own.
Wow, okay. I wonder if movement is his allegory for learning. He can only grow by continuing to learn. And then, yeah, obviously, by extension, our decisions are shaping whatever Nomos will ultimately become. All the more reason for us to set a good example, I suppose. Doesn't quite make up for turning Rykad Minoris into a hellworld, but at least something good came out of it. Cass? Can you make it so that the guests stop walking up to me and asking me to open my third eye? I can certainly do it, but they will regret it. Yeah, maybe just keep a lid on it for now. Obscura, Somna, Black Lethe. The guests of the Rogue Trader can enjoy the most exclusive and refined varieties of intoxicants. Yeah, well, someone's got to drink it, and it's certainly not going to be me. Pump that garbage in another man's veins. A collection of proudly displayed weapons that belong to distinguished rogue traders of House von Valancius.
Your chambers are ready, your lordship. Guards! Intruder!
Quiet. Time to sleep. We need to talk in private. We have matters to discuss, von Valancius.
The same man you saw among your guests is waiting for you in your chambers, with the look of someone who is supposed to be there. He casts a cold, assessing gaze over you from top to bottom. No one, save Theodora, has ever allowed themselves the liberty of looking at you in such a way. The woman behind Calcazar, clad in black armor, glares at you, her face set in predatory readiness for immediate violence. The hallmark of a professional bodyguard. My master of ceremonies. He's still alive?
Probably. Unless he suffered from hidden ailments, he will soon come to without any major damage to his health. Either way, oblivion is a far safer option for him than the dangerous privilege of being a witness to this conversation.
He shrugs. The woman at Calcazar's back gives you a bloodthirsty smirk. You're the High Lord Inquisitor. Calcazar?
Lord Inquisitor Xavier Calcazar, head of the Coronis Conclave. I am authorized by the grace of the Emperor to watch over the Coronis expanse, root out heresies, and preempt the Xenos threat.
His high-bred face and glorious graying mane would better befit an aristocrat than a servant of the fearsome Inquisition. You've heard the name Xavier Calcazar, of course, but you know nothing about the accomplishments and victories of this man, who is the de facto warden of the Expanse. Archives and chronicles grow surprisingly quiet the moment the Lord Inquisitor becomes involved.
No need to search your memory. My war is waged on clandestine fronts, and any battle reports are always thoroughly filtered. Trust me, you need not know the manner of things I have to face and the measures I sometimes have to take. Such knowledge is dangerous to the mind.
Heinrichs, I've got to say, I am disappointed. I finally extended some modicum of trust, and this is how you immediately repaid me. You break into my chambers, you knock out my man.
We used other means of travel to pay you this visit. I assure you, rogue trader, that all your locks are in order.
Heinrichs' eyes bore into you, his expression impenetrable. Oh, well, my mistake. I guess that makes it okay then. You got me on a technicality. I guess we're still best buddies. The rest of you, though. The last time someone broke into my chambers, they didn't make it back out alive. Is there any reason I shouldn't assume the worst and react accordingly?
Your ill-considered behavior is both inappropriate and dangerous. For you. It causes me no discomfort and won't hinder my inquiries in any way.
The Inquisitor winces in displeasure.
Master Van Kellox has spent enough time with you. He will vouch for your words.
Oh, right, yeah, because he certainly hasn't done anything to breach my trust in the past 10 seconds.
What stands out from your recent accomplishments is the suppression of a rebellion on Janus, the battle against the archenemy's minions on Kiava Gamma, and, of course, the unusual interest the Drakari have shown in you. Then that is what we will discuss.
After saying these words, he shoots you a searching look from under his brows, like a regicide player who just made the first move, and is now watching for his opponent's reaction. Hi, Inquisitor. I can't help but notice this is starting to feel a bit like an interrogation.
Does it? We're in your chambers, not a confessional cell. You're in perfectly good health, and none of the varied and fascinating instruments and procedures that expedite candor are being applied to you. I assure you, you would immediately know if our discussion turned into an interrogation.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time. Very well, I suppose I can answer a few questions. As long as we can keep this civil. You had questions about Janus, I believe. What exactly would you like to know?
What was the reasoning behind your decision to let Xenos, enemies of humanity, live and act on a planet that belongs to you?
Well, considering what we were up against, allying with the Eldari felt like the lesser of two evils. Surely you're not questioning my decision to use whatever tools were available to ward off minions of the archenemy. I'm certain there's ample precedent for that.
Your way of thinking is curious. Dangerous, but curious nonetheless. I would suggest exercising utmost caution should you wish to continue on this path.
Kalkazar looks at you with interest. Well, it's gotten me this far. Come to think of it, if you were aware of what was happening on my planet, why did you let it progress so far? If it had been shut down sooner, perhaps I wouldn't have had to step in and handle things like I did.
I cannot satisfy your curiosity without disclosing information of the utmost secrecy. I will say only this. We had the situation under control. There is a tangled knot of perilous events in progress in the Coronis expanse. Plucking even one thread must be performed with great precision and caution without any room for error. Because you do not want to know the price of such an error, or what forms it might take.
I mean, I hope you're not expecting me to take your word on that. Just out of curiosity, how do you know how things went down on Janus anyway? I left your man on the ship for that one. More spies, I take it? I mean, I could just find them myself, but might as well ask first.
Are you surprised? You thought the Inquisition was unaware of the circumstances of your deeds. How often do you find yourself thinking that there are things we shouldn't know about your life? It is my job to know everything, and I do it very well. Keep that in mind.
Trust me, I am well aware of what the Inquisition is capable of. It's actually part of the problem. So what's your problem with Kiava Gamma? I killed the heretics, I saved an Imperial world.
Places touched by chaos must be purged with fire and condemned to oblivion. Kiava Gamma should have been bombed to dust and pronounced a forbidden world. However, you decided otherwise and restored the colony's operation. And you didn't even go to the trouble of hiding the traces of the neglect committed by your dynasty. After all, it was House von Valancius that gave Cubis Delphim so much freedom that he sank into seditious heresy. What was your rationale?
Oh wait, I know this one. I had the situation under control. My protectorate is a complex mechanism, and removing even a single part must be done with the utmost care and precision, without any room for error.
Your protectorate is a living body, and you have left in it a splinter that might eventually fester. Consider the scale of the amputations that could come of it. I hope you realize that we're talking about more than the fate of some colony. I care not for a single planet, however profitable and populous. But should corruption raise its head again on Kiava Gamma and try to spread, I will burn it away. And you will be guilty of criminal negligence.
You sure? Because that's certainly not how you handled things on Janus. Alright, so what's the problem with the Drukhari now? Are you referring to all the ones I killed on Viabo 6 and Dargonis? Are we mad about killing Xenos now? Weren't you just on my back about not killing enough Eldari back on Janus?
Yes. The enmity between you is a known fact. But there is another way to look at it. On Viabos 6, you met the Archon of a mighty cabal, whose presence there seems strange to begin with, and lived. You subsequently encountered a number of her closest henchmen. Yet, again, you survived. Your capital fell victim to a nefarious attack, But even this time, their daggers missed your heart.
Well, maybe I'm just that good. Don't contribute to malice that which can be explained by sheer badassery.
Such remarkable luck. To be a personal enemy of such an influential Xenos, to have been attacked so many times and yet make it out alive. So remarkable that one has to wonder, am I watching a spectacle? Could all these thrilling massacres be an alibi of sorts, meant to establish you once and for all as an enemy of the Xenos and never their ally or even their agent?
Wouldn't that make a number of our saints suspect of Xeno heresy as well? I mean, St. Drusus alone survived far more Xenos attacks. Mine's barely out of the single digits.
So you already think you're cut from the same cloth as St. Drusus, do you? Ambitious? I'll make note of it.
Yeah, you do that. So are we done here? I'd like to get my man here tended to. Some asshole broke in and knocked him out.
Far from it, my dear. The questions are manifold. How did you manage to survive the battle that claimed the life of Theodora, who was so much more experienced and skilled than you? Is it a coincidence that you and you alone then made it out of the trap on Rykad Minoris? How much truth is there in the rumors being spread by the heretic Kunrad Voitvir about you?
Oh, so you're believing the word of heretics now. I've got to say, Lord Inquisitor, I'm starting to think that I might not be the actual problem here.
Why did you choose to ignore the warning of a member of the Inquisition that a protracted sojourn near the dying Rykad Minoris could bring corruption down upon your ship? Were you driven by your concern for the people or forbidden interest?
Pass.
Was it virtuous of you to allow the warp-stricken Voidsmen to join your crew? The ones who served on the ship that was turned into a trap for you by Kunrad Voitvir? Isn't it possible that they were part of the blight he had sown? The very existence of these questions would have made many of my colleagues doubt the quality of your character, but it won't in this case. The Inquisition, which I represent, is willing to show extraordinary faith in your person. For the sake of our invaluable partnership, I'm going to ignore any minor liberties that you, esteemed rogue trader, may have afforded yourself or may again in the future. I hope you appreciate the generosity of this offer, as your predecessor once did.
I take it this is the same generous offer you strong-armed Theodora into? Yeah, I found your correspondence in her desk. Starting to see why she was so paranoid.
And benefited greatly from it. The world's power is not without limit, and neither is the protection it provides. All those mysterious expeditions, dubious experiments, collections of xenotech oddities are dangerous pastimes. It takes more than the Emperor's permission to pursue them without consequences. One must also make sure I am not displeased by it. Let me demonstrate how it works. In your retinue, there is a Psyker who is yet to receive Terra's sanction, which, as we both know, is a grave threat and a blasphemy to the laws of the Imperium. I am aware of this secret, but I'm not displeased in the slightest. And so she lives on, your handy Psyker, Idira Tlass.
The Lord Inquisitor smiles ominously. Yeah, don't do that. Don't try to give me ultimatums. That's not going to work out well for anyone involved. So is that it? That's what this whole song and dance was about? You're just here to blackmail me like you did Theodora? Trample on my emperor-given rights as a rogue traitor?
And before what tribunal do you intend to challenge my authority?
He shakes his head.
If, for the security of these territories, I find it necessary to execute any individual and replace them with a puppet counterpart, turn their realm to ash, and put their servants to death, I have the right to do so. The threats I protect the Expanse against are extraordinary and justify the harshest means. Welcome to my world, where going too far simply doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't really see that working out for you. So why such an interest in me, a lowly rogue trader, one you see as beneath you, apparently? Especially when you could just kill me and replace me with a puppet.
You haven't been in a position of power for long, and so one can forgive you for not noticing the troubling changes. The cult of the Final Dawn is spreading in the Coronis Expanse. Not the first or the last heresy that has afflicted this sector, but one that is surprisingly resilient. Mysterious convoys are sliding by, bound for systems in the heathen stars. Just your humdrum pirate trade, wouldn't you say? Then why are the pirates themselves clueless? The Xenos, who have caused trouble in the sector before, have expanded their activities in the last few decades, and there is a logic and method to their previously chaotic raids. Even 2 packs of Space Wolves, blessed Space Marines summoned in my name, did not cool their interest in the Expanse. A mighty explorator fleet, which has studied the Expanse for hundreds of years, has suddenly stopped responding to communication and sunk into a dispute over a tech heresy that was considered dead a couple of centuries ago. House Chorda has clamped down on insurgents, yet its acts of brutality breed troublemakers just as quickly as they're executed, and this bloody carousel has consumed the attention of the esteemed incendiar. Caligos Winterskill has abruptly lost all interest in his domain, and his only apparent concern now is hunting ever more dangerous xenobeasts.
Yeah, not really telling me anything I don't already know. And trust me, that's all on my to-do list. Except for perhaps that pronunciation on Chorda and Caligos. I might skip that.
And the third and final rogue trader has unexpectedly perished, stabbed in the back by her own Master of Whispers. The Expanse is swiftly losing its protectors right when communication with the Imperium is being disrupted by the raging warp. Basically, all the Expanse has left is me and you, if you follow my instructions.
You know, I've got to say, this partnership you're offering didn't really seem to work out for Theodora. I mean, she's dead. But, you know, even before that, it sounds like things really weren't all that great.
I cannot deny the possibility that Lady Theodora may have lamented losing some of the freedom she enjoyed prior to my arrival in the Expanse. Nor will I deny that our partnership began with me exerting a certain amount of influence. However, you are not Lady Theodora. Let us put the difficulties that encumbered our relationship to rest along with her. I do not recommend troubling yourself with affairs of the past, for they have no bearing on your present position. Theodora chose to forget about this particular matter. Follow her example, and your fate will be the better for it.
Again, she's dead. I feel like following her example is the last thing I should do. So what about your man Heinrichs here?
which would you prefer? And you, Heinrichs, do you wish to continue working at the Honorable Rogue Trader's side?
Heinrichs? That can't be right. That can't be right. Really?
I will comply with any order, Lord Inquisitor. If you command me to remain in the company of the scion of the von Valancius dynasty, I won't be distressed.
Heinrichs, is your name really Heinrichs? Have I been calling you the wrong name this whole time? Or maybe the Lord Inquisitor called you the wrong name and you were just too polite to ever correct him? So I take it you'd vouch for your guy here?
Without a doubt, Master Van Kellogg's has earned my complete trust by repeatedly demonstrating courage, loyalty, and cunning. His mathematical mind, not given to sentiment, can be of great use in an emergency. You, my dear Heinrichs, have made a far better agent than you would have a pilot of an Imperial Knight.
I hate that pronunciation. I'm gonna have to look into that. It also does kind of go to show that the Lord Inquisitor doesn't really know Heinrichs, since Heinrichs has, in fact, shown signs of sentiment, at least in his time with us, which might be all the more reason to keep him on board. I mean, that aside, if we keep the spy we know, then we don't get stuck trying to suss out the next one. And I guess not for nothing, he did technically try to warn us, very cryptically, back in the reception hall. Not like he could openly defy a Lord Inquisitor. Yeah, sure, I'll keep him. For now. But I've got to say, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to rebuild trust. And if not, I've got plenty of airlocks.
Then Master Van Kellogg's will remain in place. It puts me at ease to know that there is someone to watch over you.
Kalkazar's last remark sounds ambiguous.
I consider it an honor to accompany you.
Heinrichs offers you an official bow. Alright, so, since I apparently have no choice, let's hammer out the details on this deal you're offering.
I make no deals, and Emperor forbid that I give you orders. That would mean infringing on your privileges. I'm merely offering well-meaning recommendations and expecting that when the Expanse finds itself in danger, you will break away from your own affairs to heed them. I seem to remember that your exalted aristocrats presented you with many gifts. It would be rude of me not to follow suit. Please accept this gift as a sign of my favor. In an hour of need, give it to any faithful servant of the Emperor, and the Inquisition will come to your aid.
Kalkazar removes a signet ring from his finger and hands it to you. You notice an intricate personal coat of arms on it.
The color indicates how close the bearer is to the Lord Inquisitor. Scarlet means that you have shed your blood for the good of the Imperium, and therefore, you deserve to have his servants shed their blood for you.
Scarlet Signet of the Inquisition. Plus 25 Persuasion, and Inquisitor's Decree, once per combat. Interesting. This ring symbolizes its owner's closeness to the Lord Inquisitor, which inspires the owner's companions and adds weight to their orders. Grants plus 30 momentum, removes burning bleeding toxin, grants temporary wounds. Okay. I mean, 0 AP cost. That's not bad at all. You know what, Kalkazar? I'll take it. Even though it's almost certainly got like a tracking chip or some shit in it. I mean, to be brutally honest, I'm gonna say 82.3% sure this is all gonna end up with Kalkazar dead, regardless. So is this it? I sincerely hope this is just a down payment if you're expecting to buy the loyalty of my entire protectorate.
I did not come here to haggle. Worry not. You won't come out of this empty-handed if you act appropriately. Here is where we part. My shuttle is waiting. It is time for me to return to my watch, for you to sleep, and for your servant to wake up until next we meet.
He glances at the Master of Ceremonies, who is beginning to stir.
Well, you will obviously want to discuss what just happened, but not now, I presume. Right now, it would be better for you to rest and think on the Lord Inquisitor's words in private. I bid you good night, rogue trader.
For the first time during the entire exchange, emotion creeps into Heinrich's face. He looks like someone who's expecting an unpleasant conversation. What are you, psychic or something? Oh yeah, you are.
The rise of the rogue trader heir restored a tenuous equilibrium to the Fon Valancius Protectorate. For a time, threats subsided, activity returned to trade routes, and reclaimed worlds began to heal. The new Lord Captain's subjects praised the God Emperor and their leader wholeheartedly. For none knew what fate might await them.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone know who the voice in the interludes is supposed to be? My guess would be Nomos or Vigdis. And yeah, man, lots to unpack in that episode. I'm going to have to mull on a few things. They have set quite a few new pieces in motion. And, of course, provided some very intriguing context on past events. That's it. This does feel like a good place to call it. My goodness, Act 3, it's been a long time coming. Who knows what the future might hold? Guess I'll see you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Welcome to my world, where going too far simply doesn't exist.